I try and start that at the time that the meeting's meant to start every time. Yeah. But it looks like it's just you and me, Lynette, and a whole lot of other faces. Oh, here we go. Starting. Don. Tyler. A new face. Ramirez. Not new face. Kelly. So how did you find us, Tyler?
I saw your interview with Panilla from the Awakening curriculum.
Okay, right. Okay. Good one. So tell us where you're up to on this journey. So-called journey.
Where I'm up to.
Yeah, stupid question, but yeah, just give us a bit of yeah.
I guess right now I'm working on, by the feather system, I guess I'm working on the 6th feather.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
So would you say all the others have fallen? The other
If,
ones?
well, maybe.
Good answer. I like that. Yeah.
Feels like it.
It was a trap question, really. Yeah. Okay. So did you go through Liberation Unleashed?
No.
No.
I just found out about that today.
Right. Yeah. So how did you come across Panilla? What's your previous history to that? Who were you watching and what were you into?
Um, a view on it from like the very beginning, or
Oh, just no, I'm just kind of making conversation to get to know you.
uh,
That's all. Yeah, nothing formal. Yeah.
yeah.
So for you, the beginning was probably like for us, it was probably about the day we were born or something, not long after.
I guess so. But no, yeah, it started with more more well-known non-dual teachers
Yep.
like Arya Shanti.
Yeah, good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I don't know. I never seemed to get it, so I put it aside for a long time. Then eventually came back and stumbled across Angelo DeLillo.
Ah, good. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and then reading his book was what like really changed things at first for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you say you had an epiphany or a shift, or how would you describe that first big aha that you had?
Was more like a loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a words. It's
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. It's more like an undoing rather than a doing.
yeah, like a remembering or
Yeah.
like a forgetting. Mm, I guess it doesn't matter how I say it, but yeah, I think so.
Mm.
Yeah, and then I saw his interview with Panilla from the Awakening curriculum. Then I went to watch her stuff, and then I saw her interview with you, and then like yesterday, and then I saw you were having a meeting today. So
Right. Okay. If you want me to add your email to the notification list that I generally try and send out once a week, with all the links on it and links to the videos like we're recording now. If you want, just pop your email into the chat for me and I'll add you to the list. So it happens if you want.
okay, thanks.
So if you're here, it implies that you're still looking for something. What do you think? What do you think you haven't found yet?
Um, I still catch myself believing things,
Uh-huh.
believing some thoughts,
Do you
and
do you catch yourself judging that when you see it? Do you have an opinion about when that happens?
yeah, I mean sometimes it's funny, like um, like I'll think something, and then it'll drag on for a little bit, and then I'll realize, oh, yeah, and then like that'll be kind of funny.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that is, as I see it, the perfect response to catching that. Now, if there was some kind of judgment about, oh, that shouldn't be happening, then of course that's identification going on. Whereas when you just see it as funny that it's turned up, I reckon that's a good indication that you're not identifying. It's just old habits popping in. Yeah, I like that.
But also, I think there's still identification because, I mean, just from reading through the 10 feathers thing, which I found out about recently, um, the descriptions of the later feathers, they like fly past me, and I still definitely think that I'm experiencing what I would experience if I still had beliefs and identifications with those.
Mhm. So you do recognize that what the feathers are is a conceptual construct just to give you a way of looking at what comes up. And so when you're working, I mean, the feathers that people work on a lot are 4 and 5, desire and ill will, or desire and aversion, however you want to put it. That seems to be one of the biggest areas, the biggest hold up where people get stuck for quite a while. Um, and you certainly wouldn't consider looking into 6 until you've got a pretty good handle on those ones. 6, you're off into a totally different dimension, so to speak. Looking at form and formless. Wow, that's really something else. But anyway, so you can, if once you're familiar with the feathers, you certainly can use them to take them to the laboratory, so to speak, and then generate some juice or some heat around an issue by constructing a sentence to poke the bear, so to speak, to kick it along a little bit, and then you can work on it using the feathers. But if I was to ask you just what what comes up in a day that you think shouldn't be there or should be different. So one of those things you're saying is where you're catching yourself having thoughts. But I don't see them as having any juice when your response to them is to laugh. You're seeing the genuine humour in the fact that they've turned up means that you're not sucked into them by any means. The ones you take seriously, now that's a different story. Do you have any that you take seriously?
Well, off the top of my head, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm inclined to, well, my what comes up here is for me to say, what do you think is missing? How would you be? You were, how should we frame this? Should we call it more awake? If you were more awake, how would it be for you? What would be different?
I actually have no idea.
Good, good. Like that
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Like, because it's just that I feel like there is more to. I. It feels like there's still more that can be dissolved, and if that is dissolved, then I could experience something different. Not that there's anything wrong with how it is now, but it's just really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to, yeah, I want to know what it would be like.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what your response is to this? So what's your body for what comes up when I ask you this question? How it will be like is pretty much exactly how it is now.
Huh.
Hmm. So what was that reaction? Tell us about that.
Well, I haven't had a thought about your response, but I felt some contraction.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not seeing where you're touching, just solar plexus area. Yeah.
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 So that would, how would you describe that sensation? What would you say that sensation means? Very lightly, just what's your intuition say? That's about what?
Hmm? Oh, I affirm.
I guess it was,
You go.
maybe it could have been disappointment, because I
Yeah.
was like,
Okay. Yeah. Vanilla would certainly describe it as a body no response. Not a body yes, but a body no. So yes, a bit of disappointment. Okay. That's kind of what I expected, that you know, this is a bit too ordinary, eh? You would like something a little bit more special, a little bit more bliss in the day.
I don't know what I'm looking for.
Yes. Okay. What I'm looking for, I mean, I make judgments pretty quickly sometimes, and I excuse them by saying, "Well, I see it happening. I see," but my judgment of you about where you're at and so on is that you're in a pretty bloody good place, and what you've got in front of you, your hurdle now is expectations about something that right, and that is where you're doing your identifying with. You're identifying because you've got this idea that something is going to change, and that implies that something now is not the way it should be, even though you said it's pretty good what you've got now. So there's a bit of a paradox there as well. So yeah. Okay. Well, we'll certainly undo any knots that are there. You're in the right place, I reckon. Welcome. I have good feelings about you. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What are you
Okay.
telling about, Don? You've got a big frown on your face there. Don't undo it.
Sorry, I got distracted. I was fiddling with my Ryanair account.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So you had
Sorry
something
about that.
to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, should be more. I should be more here. Yeah, I've been up for a while doing something. I don't know what I'm doing, but trying to be here. But
You don't have to be. I don't mind if you go do something else while you're here.
no. It's stupid. I can do it anytime. I don't know why I have to do it now. It's ridiculous. I just came. I just went to look for the link to this at 10 to 12, or for me 10 to 12. And then I got my notification from the airline. I need to check in. I was like, oh, I forgot to check in. So I started fiddling with that. I've done that now. I think it's done. So it's okay. I just got distracted. But yeah, thanks. Yeah, I've been the week has been a bit of a disaster. Not most of my weeks are wonderful, but I was distracted and upset for most of the week. And I'm sort of a bit calmed down this morning. But I guess that even though the most calmed down, mostly I get to is I'm trying to get to, I've been sitting here for 3 hours mostly and not looking at websites, sitting here for 3 hours trying to look at what's happening. And I kind of get to this place of trying to not being fully present, or I feel like, or not being fully with whatever distraction there is. And I guess, I have one of my beliefs, I'm sure I've said this several times. One of my beliefs is that there's a set of patterns here, that sort of childhood trauma, kind of fear-based things that are just determined to keep me distracted forever. And they just think being present is not safe. And they want to keep me in thought and keep me criticized and keep me thinking. And I sort of can't trust the path. Basically, I don't trust that I will move towards some awakening fabulousness. I trust that I will remain distracted until my death unless I do something to see through it. That's where I'm still am. And I still feel I have to look really hard at those patterns. And I guess I look at the one who is, I was looking at this morning, the one who seems to be here, who feels he has never lived his life and feels totally frustrated. And the other one who's criticizing continuously, wall to wall, all day and all night. I'm trying to look at those because those just keep me kind of occupied all day.
Yeah. So when were you listening when I asked Tyler about what his reaction was to seeing something come up, and his reaction was to laugh at it, that he saw the humor in the fact that it turned up? Were you there?
I was listening. No, I was listening. Yeah. And I was yeah. And I was thinking, oh yeah, Vince has said that before about laughing. I don't feel very cheerful when I see things most of the time.
But see, with Tyler, he saw the joke, and what's funny, what's a joke is always the unexpected, right? It's kind of, that's how a comedian works. They take you down this road and then they flip you sideways. And when they do that, that's when it's funny, because you get this unexpected thing. Well, Tyler just responded to the humor of the unexpected when this thing turned up. But you expect them, don't you? You
Most of
know they're going to come along, so they can never surprise you.
most of and you think the other side of that, or the other like way of looking at that, is if it's so repetitive, can I not see it's just a pattern that it doesn't mean very much or anything? And I don't. I still take it seriously. I go, oh, I'm wrong about, and I really do. Like, I'm wrong about my practice. I'm wrong about my meditation. I'm wrong about everything. It's just all day.
No, that's you do see it. You do see that it's just a pattern and all the rest of it. Yeah. But you also have something else. You've got this really unique way of doing it. And so instead of responding to what you see, you have all these other stories that kind of counteract it, that come along. As something as simple as, well, I'm compelled to believe, even though I know it's not true. It's a really interesting one.
There's something weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm pointing out with Tyler's response and your response is that somehow he's just seeing it from a slightly different perspective than you, and what makes it funny is that he recognizes the ludicrous nature of it. That they come up and that they're saying something that's just total bullshit, but they're there. That's what makes it funny, the fact that they're there, even though that's seen to be the case.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't see it as bullshit. You know it's bullshit, but you don't see it as bullshit.
It's strange. I'm constantly frustrated by that, because in some way I do know that it is, and it's the same repetitive thing for decades.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I feel like I don't know how I explain it to myself. Like the identity here feels so wrong that any thoughts about me being wrong feels like me so strongly that it feels true or something.
Yeah.
And I keep trying to see through it and having different angles and relaxing and being more serious and relaxing, and I haven't seen it as a joke yet. It still feels flipping serious.
I get that. Yeah. Right. How are you going to feel? This, just play along with my little fantasy here.
Yeah.
How are you going to feel when you discover that this childhood trauma, or whatever it is that's that's blocking you from seeing it, so that you can put it to bed, to put it to rest?
Yeah.
It's not letting you see that because it's got you scared shitless. And how are you going to feel when you see it and it's nothing? It's so trivial. It's so ridiculously trivial that you wonder, how the hell has that been controlling my life all this time? I reckon you'll feel.
Yeah, I mean, wow, that would be cool. I mean, I suppose from my history of very tiny glimpses, I would say that like from here, I would go, there would be a great big story about how a terrible waste of my life it was to have believed that silly thought for so long. But I know from my history of small glimpses that as soon as I see it, I'll go, okay, and we just get on with my life and it'll be fine.
Absolutely.
And I won't be worried about the past anymore. I'll go, it's fine, it's present now. I'm just going to live my life. It's fine.
Absolutely. Good. Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
like you to replay that story a few times, because I reckon that's pretty spot on.
I've seen
and
it.
for you to go from where you are now into that place, it's almost like, it's just like taking one step to the right as you walk. It's so close. Yeah.
I know. I think it must be something I thought, but and yet, yeah, I haven't seen it. But yeah, I do. Yeah, because as I say, from here I make all these stories and I'm going to explain to people how this was figured out and how this was so difficult to understand and blah blah blah. But I know, yeah, in the few times in the past when I've seen things, I don't care about explaining anything to anyone. I'm just going to live my life.
Yep. Exactly. You will.
But it's just, and I don't want to just be stuck on the belief that I can't do it, or I don't know. I just want to see. I keep looking at what beliefs are here, or what I'm believing, or why I'm believing them, or what's believing what, or who's believing, or what's it's fucking
Oh,
hell.
you just make such hard work out of it. You don't need to do any of that.
Yeah.
But okay.
Mm.
I mean, when it happens, it'll be like some totally innocent sentence will just flip you into a different place, and all of a sudden it'll be like nothing. It'll just be like, wow, born again.
Be nice if, yeah, that would be so nice. Even when you say that, but I feel afraid. It's ridiculous. I feel afraid of fear-filled thoughts. It's ridiculous. I feel afraid of the fact that they can get me, as it were, and I can feel them coming, and I go, oh, I'm going to believe these. As soon as I relax a little bit,
Yeah.
and I go, oh, they're going to come now, and I'm going to believe them any second. I have to be super vigilant to stop that happening. I don't know. I can't imagine seeing through them all continuously without ever believing them again. It just, I can't, from here, I can't imagine it, but it would just be, it's beyond my imagination for now. But
So
yeah,
when you learned about Santa Claus, how long did it take you to drop the idea that he wasn't real?
I don't imagine it was very long. I think I'm pretty quick with those kind of things. I just, yeah, exactly.
So
I've
it'll
always
be no different.
marveled at like how dull I am in this subject here, where I can understand other things fairly quickly and change my opinion and completely realize I was wrong about things and go, oh, okay. And with this, I'm just stuck on this ridiculous thing that makes me unhappy all the time, determined to keep believing it despite the evidence. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, yeah. But that's funny. That's not a judgment. That's just funny, isn't it? That it's something like that, and amazing, and really very, worth a lot of respect. I think it's phenomenal. It's just wonderful the way that we work as people. It's crazy, wonderful. Yeah.
It's funny how I
Mm.
just, yeah, as I say, I do look through it and try to look through it in detail, how it's connected to fear and hypervigilance and beliefs, and try to see down, just watch the mechanism of it. I'm not trying to, I don't think I'm trying to think through it so much, maybe a bit, but I'm trying to watch the steps and watch what I'm believing and why and what's the next belief after that or before that I'm believing. And then I was just yesterday, I went to craniosacral because that was recommended to me, and I've been doing that a bit. And when I do, I probably not, she's probably not wanting me to do this while I'm being manipulated or whatever, but when I'm super calm on the table, I'm just doing self-inquiry, trying to find where I am, and then I go, oh, there's nobody here, and I just keep kind of going into the body and relaxing and noticing that there's nobody here for the whole session. But anyway, I haven't awakened yet on the table so far as I know, but maybe one of these weeks.
Yeah, it'll probably happen when you're on the toilet.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, thank you. I don't know what to do. Just keep doing this.
Yeah, nothing to do. I can't get that message across. You try.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, actually, maybe, yeah. Actually, to be honest, I wonder if I won't come back. Yeah. I'll be surprised by that, I suppose, maybe. If it turns out there was nothing I needed to do or something, that'll be a strange one.
Yeah.
After all the struggling, I'm like, what? I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, you can look back at any happening and you can say, well, it's pretty obvious that everything that led up to it was required for it to happen. So, it's only looking forward when I say there's nothing to do. When we look back after it's happened, we'll say everything that happened exactly was what was needed to happen. So all of that struggling and all of that, everything that you've been doing, it's not necessary when we look forward. When we look back, it was necessary.
Yeah. Can I understand that? Maybe. Yeah, possibly. Yep. Thanks.
Can I just ask a question, Vince?
Yeah, of course.
Just as you were talking to Dom there, something came up, a bit of panic really, because I seem to spend so much time, have spent so much time in that emptiness, and now I feel like I'm going in a different direction, and sometimes I get a bit panic about that, although it seems to be working well in that direction, but it's more shadow work and internal I'm really getting a lot from internal IFS, internal family systems, but what it seems to be doing in a way is making all those thoughts and kind of lost children in me more real, because I'm having conversations with the child that's 3, the child that's 6, the successful one that's 30, and it really seems to be moving well with that, and kind of learning a lot about myself and who I am. But on the other side, there's no one there, and that kind of feels, oh God, you know, am I going in the wrong direction? It does feel like the right direction.
Yeah, yeah. Now go with your feeling. That's important. And look, it might sound a bit strange, but both of those things are equally true, right? There's no one there yet. You've got to go. You've got to use the tools that they're teaching you in good faith. Use that in good faith. There is no contradiction, right? So what you might say, what we're actually doing is we're building up a self with the IFS stuff, right? And at the same time, we're taking a self away. Well, we're not taking a self away. We're recognizing that that self that we built up was a useful illusion while you're in the IFS system, right? So it's not, there's no contradiction between the two. But, and
yeah, because
if good things about that, definitely go with it. Right?
Because it feels like because of a lot of trauma, I've disassociated so much in my life and left all these parts of me, or rejected these parts.
All separated,
And now it's like bringing those parts home.
Yeah. So when they're all home, you'll have a self that we can then do something with. That's maybe one way you can look at it. And we don't have to wait for one to finish to start the other either. They can be both working at the same time. So we're building up at the same time as we're tearing down. But they're not in contradiction with each other.
Good. Yeah, I do understand that. I'm just wondering now, so what about all the years I spent in that kind of spacious, no one here, no self? That seems like a waste then.
No, it's not a waste. It's not a waste. I mean, you know my thoughts about that. It was premature for you to get into that state like that. And the consequence why you lost it was because of all this other stuff that needs attention. Right? And this other stuff is what you're handling with IFS, all this shadow work. Right? So once you get that sorted, and you will, and you're doing pretty quick, I think. So you won't be too long getting through that stuff. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't feel like that.
Oh, well, I know that. I imagine these things never feel like they're going to end, do they?
No, that's really clear. Thank you, Vince. Yeah, I understand now. Yeah, it does feel a bit like I've kind of abandoned myself all my life, and now I've got to get to know myself again, and it seems like a lot of work that's going to need to be done.
Don't do a Don on me. No, you don't have to do a lot of work.
Yeah, I've joined you there, Don.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
It does. I know it seems like that. It does seem like there's a lot. There's a huge amount of, but so much of this stuff is tied up together that like you can. One shift will take out a whole lot of stuff. So I don't really feel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get that. I've actually seen.
Seems like a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it can go from black to white in a matter of seconds.
Yes.
you know, with a belief, and then you see through the belief and it goes.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I mean,
yeah,
you could, for example, well, maybe, you know, maybe you could, but let's imagine that we could get you back into that non-dual space that you were in before, where you're really in, you know, bliss is the biggest feeling you've got, and so on. You would come a gutser again out of that, for sure. The first time some of this other stuff got triggered, you'd be back out of it, feeling so terrible that you'd lost something again. Yeah. So
well, that's what started happening, and it was like, I don't think it's over yet.
yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I am
Yeah,
I am under the impression that this noble state that you're talking about sounds more like dissociation. I don't really, doesn't it?
Sorry, say that again, David. I
This
didn't follow you.
this state of no self state that you talk about, that you were in, sounds more like a dissociative state.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah,
It was
rather
something
than
that happened at the result of a whole lot of non-dual teaching stuff.
Yeah,
Who
because
was the
this
man,
is
Robert?
often what. Sorry.
So, and who were you following at that start time?
Tony Parsons, the whole
Tony Parsons.
camp of
Yeah,
no one's here, no one's home.
yeah.
Yeah,
So non-dual teachings, and she got it for a while. Yeah.
yeah,
But it could, like you say, it could well be a dissociated state. Not that, I mean, not, yeah, I don't know what that means either. But yeah.
Well,
No,
a dissociative states mean that you are more disconnected with your experience, and through that disconnection, because you are disconnected with uncomfortable feelings and uncomfortable beliefs and stories, you feel fine. But it's not a fine that is all encompassing. It's a fine. It's a I'm fine that have conditions. And when those conditions are not met, when emotion come up, story and life just bring you back again into some uncomfortable stories, then you face all of your pain straight away. That's where
Yeah.
we seems to be now,
yes,
which is very healthy. That you have took some path to deal with it, and I think it's a healthy to do that.
yeah, it does. It feels really right. It feels really spot on to be doing it, and yeah, tapping into that. Yeah, the
I think
IFS system broke through for me.
oh yeah.
Mm.
I think what is good with non-duality is that it said, because everything is an illusion, you don't have to be afraid to go into everything that appears. So in truth, it's not really a path to escape, the opposite. So it's opposite, you know, if there is fear in stories, well, dive into it, you know, because see what is there. It's good.
Yeah, I think that's the whole theme of it, is like Vince was saying about at the beginning, if this is it, what do you think then? And that's how I'm seeing it. This is awakening, whether it's terror or sadness, or and inviting that, or trying to accept, invite, be with that, hold that, without judging it, and good and bad kind of thing. Yeah, just more of embracing and welcoming anything that appears, without having to get somewhere else for awakening. Awakening's here and now, whatever's appearing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know, every therapy and teaching have symbols, you know. So some paths have that Hinduism have a lot of gods, you know, like Shiva and this, but they are symbols. They are symbols to the kind of, it's external, but in reality it's inside you. So they use them for that. And in Christianism, it's Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and there are outside symbols that you use to kind of work with difficulty and pain, and it's with this process. But using you as a baby, you as a child, you as a teenager is the same. It's a valid tool, you know.
Yeah, it is like that. It's like you know, the whole premise of it is there's no bad parts, but they say that the bigger self is the one that encompasses them all. But when they're using the word bigger self, I just use the word, it can be bigger self or no self, encompasses all those parts. And once all those parts know that that's there, so the symbol could be God's here or Jesus is here, the self's here, the no self, then they can relax their protection and the armor can come off because they know something bigger's taken over and able to encompass everything. That makes sense, if I'm describing it well.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, just falling back, as Vince would say, stepping back, falling back into the spacious and trusting that is capable of taking care of all of those lost parts that are fearful or ashamed or worried or competitive. So they can all be here. Yeah. I mean, I've just started with it, so it's clear to me. It might sound like strange to everyone else.
That makes sense. Ah, Sylvia, I started to watch the videos from last week, and I just got to the end of your story, and that's as far as I got through the video in a whole week. Life's just so busy. Anyway, I was blown away by your story. That was just so good. I just loved it, you know. Yeah. So how have you been through the week? How's things been for you? You're muted. Nah, still muted. Gotcha.
I just put on the volume, but I didn't unmute myself. Okay. So I feel so grateful, you know, to have been picked by Alan, his name was.
Yes, Alan, yeah.
And straight at the beginning, because I would not have found the courage to, you know, to put up my hand and say, I have something. So he picked me and I had no escape. And it was so great. I feel really, really grateful because something became clear and I have felt great during the whole week. Yes, it's like something dissipated, you know.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's one and for all, one and forever, once and forever, or how do you say that?
Yeah, that doesn't matter. We don't even bother to think about that.
Okay. At the moment, it's just, you know, good.
Right.
It's,
and so you did not actually see what it was that dissipated? You don't need to, of course, but
you know, I became conscious of how can I say? At some point, he asked me, "Is there also something inside you that doesn't want?" And then I said, "Yes, of course." So it's like this made me conscious of a constant fight between wanting and not wanting. That was there. It was like underground, but it was always there. And I had in my past, I had made like therapies and stuff because my trauma, I am convinced that I have done so many things, you know, that I became convinced that my trauma is my birth trauma. It was a very, very traumatic birth. It lasted like 50 hours and my mom almost died and I almost died and I didn't want to breathe and they injected me and, you know, stuff like that. So in my life, I had made therapies around that, you know, and every time I made a new therapy, I came to the same point and the point was, I want and I don't want to live.
At the same time.
And it was like with Alan last week, when he was guiding me, it became clear that it was the same thing again. I want and I don't want. But what it became also clear that it is thanks to what I went through that I am here now. I mean, that I am here, that I am seeing into who I really am, or what I really am, or what I'm not, you know?
Yes, yeah.
So if it weren't because of that struggle, that initial struggle of wanting to live and not wanting to live,
Yep, you wouldn't be here. Yeah.
I wouldn't be here, yeah. So it was just a moment of seeing clear and then everything just melted away.
So did that wanting and not wanting, did they just waltz off hand in hand? Did they just take each other's hand and disappear? Finally agree about something?
No, I wouldn't say so, Vince. It's just that the paradox, seeing the paradox of it,
Yes.
made me, it made like recognizing the paradox made something leave somehow. Just, you know, just the mere fact of seeing that it was me who was keeping this alive. The two parts of me struggling one against each other, that this was keeping it alive. It was keeping the whole anguish alive, seeing it so clearly. I don't know what happened. It just, there is no anguish. At the moment, there is no anguish. I couldn't say what it is exactly. It's not that I accept it or not accept it. There was not much thought about this.
Yes, very good.
There was just a recognition, just a seeing, you know, just seeing what was happening all the time. And this was enough.
I love that you're so lucid. I love the way you describe that. Yeah. And that's a lesson for everybody too, that thing that we don't actually need to analyze something to death, you know, just the seeing of it, something can happen. It's just amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So whatever it was that happened, we don't know and we don't need to know. We just recognize that there was a letting go of something.
Yes.
And that means everything's different now. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yes.
beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
Yes. I was so grateful, you know, and then I have to say sorry because I had to leave early, but I didn't want to interrupt. So I didn't say goodbye. I just put a message in the chat. I hope it wasn't too
No, look, no, here we say you
rude.
just turn your camera off and go, and you don't have to say anything if you don't want.
Okay.
Come and go whenever you like. You don't worry
Okay.
about it.
No, and again, today I was late because my mom invited me for lunch. And so I didn't want to be rude with her, but I didn't want to be rude coming,
Yeah,
you know.
no.
It's good to know that it's not so formal.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Look, if anybody here takes anything personal, that's something for us to work with.
Interesting. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Lydia. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing. And what I'm hearing is you saw the paradox of kind of the essence of human life. It's really paradoxical. It's this constant fight. And I think being at peace with this, it's very huge, because in my experience, almost everything it's very paradoxical, you know, like non-duality, you know, like there is a shift, but you cannot really explain it. But so it is there or not, you know? Yes, it's there. So what it is, I don't know. So it's like everything is there, but you cannot explain it. So yeah, it's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing and sharing your life, your smile and your presence. Great.
So are we 5? Because I see 5 people here on the screen, but I'm not very accustomed to using this Zoom. Or is there a way of seeing more people?
If are you on your phone?
No, I'm on the computer right now,
Okay.
but I can see only, no, many
there's
more.
3, 6, 9.
Okay.
There's 12. There's 11 people here.
Okay. Okay. I'm a bit shy of talking in public.
Oh, you're doing well. We're not public anyway. Don't worry. We are public, but we're not. We're family.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's 12 people anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Up the top. Oh, where are we in Zoom? Oh, where is it? Maybe.
On the top right, so the top right, there's view, and you can pick
Oh,
view
yeah, that's
gallery
right.
instead of
View,
view
yeah.
speaker.
So under view, I'm on gallery. Can you see the word view at the top right-hand corner?
I cannot see view.
It's the word view, and mine has got a square made of dots next to it on the left of it. But it's the very top right-hand corner.
Ah, yes, of course, it's in Italian here.
Yes.
Okay,
So
gallery.
if you're on gallery, you should see everybody.
As I see it now. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Have you been going, Kelly? Still been really good? Feeling good?
Better than yesterday. It was a tough one yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Just something that you and Anne were talking about, like, it was like, oh yes. So I feel like I was in bliss, just flowing, and everything was good. and then I've kind of identified again, and then there's like so much. It's like I've done something wrong, you know. I feel like I've had the moon and it's been taken away from me. And when I do this, I feel like I've been in this place many times. I find it quite hard to come back. There's a lot of stories. It almost feels like I'm climbing out of hell. And I totally get identified again. And then I beat myself up for that. I feel a bit better today. I feel like I'm unwrapping that identity. I can see it, which is good. But yeah, that's pretty much where I am.
So when you say you get identified again, how do you know? What happens that you call identified?
I start suffering.
Say again?
I'm suffering. I just straight. It's very black and white. 1 minute I can be in total bliss. You know, everything just flows, and it's beautiful. And then it just seems to flip, and then it's horrendous. I'm just in so much suffering.
Describe that suffering. What's happening in that? How what do you
It just feels like I've lost something. It just feels, it's very black and white. It's like
you're saying
one
it
side.
feels. That's in the body. You're feeling it in the body, are you? When you say it feels like you've lost something,
It's like the dread in my heart. It's like something's, you know, it's like my heart's kind of closed, maybe. It's like, you know, my heart's been open and then it's like shutters have gone back again.
Mm. Mm.
And I just know, and it literally, there doesn't seem to be any forewarning. I still seem to get very lost in it. There doesn't seem to be, you know, like I'll try and see where, you know, I've maybe identified and I can't always see it. And then I think the more I'm trying to see, the more I'm tying myself up in knots and identifying even more and more.
Mm.
Maybe like I've just like thought something I've said then, you know, like when I'm in bliss, it's maybe I feel like there's some ownership there. I don't know, maybe there's still like some identification because it feels like it's something I've lost. I don't know.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know, something I own, some
I
type
found
of
that
ownership.
interesting that you said it feels like something's been lost.
Mm,
And what you described was like your heart closing up, getting hard again, right? And
yeah.
that was, and you described that as a loss, which I found really interesting. I'd like to know, I'd like to hear more about that. And
It's a
is it a
total.
loss? Yeah.
It's a total loss. I think there's been a lot of suffering in my life, and I think that's the stories, and you know, I can have like weeks of just total flow and bliss, and everything just moves beautifully, and you know, I see the beauty in the world, you know, because nothing seems to be covering me,
Mhm.
you know, and even when things happen, you know, it's just happening. I don't get involved with it. But then it's almost like I can be in that place there's no warning, and then boom, I feel like all the sunshine's gone out of the world. You know, every tiny little thought I probably get identified with. And
Okay,
it
so
can take me-
yeah, that's the point. When you say you identify with it, try and describe it. Don't use that. Don't say that again. Try and describe it as what it is that actually happens. Not don't tell me about it. Tell me what it is. Right. So when you say I identify, that's just the story that doesn't make sense to me. What I want to hear is what is the actual physical response to what you're calling identified. See what I mean?
yeah,
Same with when you say I'm suffering. I don't want to hear the word suffering. What I want to hear is what you're labeling as suffering, that heavy heart, that closing up heart, or whatever
it
that version
just
is.
feels like something's covering my heart.
Yeah.
It's like, it's literally like my heart's open and life is amazing, life's beautiful, and then just like that, boom, my heart closes.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what you call suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say that's when identifying happens, is that the same thing again? Or is that a bit different?
Yeah, I don't know what causes
No,
me
no.
to
Just describe what the feeling is. That's all.
when I'm closed down.
Yeah. When you're doing what you call identifying, what's the feeling there?
The feelings it's just total and utter dread, bleakness.
Right. That's a bit more than just in your heart area, isn't it? That bleakness.
Yeah, it's just a heaviness. It's like it's just like being free, and then like
Yes.
a total heaviness again.
Right. Like a big wet blanket being thrown over the top of you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Mm. So instead of seeing those things as you identifying or as you suffering, right?
Yeah,
When those if the idea comes to you, when those thoughts turn up, flick them away. Okay, we don't want to know about them. They're labels. They're escapisms. What we want to know is what would describe what they're pointing to. Right?
it's like denseness,
Yeah,
really
yes.
heavy.
So that's
Yeah,
the stuff I want you to focus on when that turns up. Not the word suffering, not the word identifying, but that experience of whatever it is, heaviness, closing up, whatever that is. Right. So to say it's suffering, to say it's identifying, that's just a way of keeping away from what's going on.
right. Yeah,
So to get underneath that, to what is actually happening in the body, that's what we want to happen. Without expectations, right? We're not doing that in order to fix something or to change something. We're doing it to see what comes up. Okay, that curiosity again, that discovery. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like there is expectations when I'm like that. There's a massive level of
Oh, of course. Yeah, we just
not
want to go in, don't we? It's
acceptance.
so horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad you've said that. So just like try and get to a place where I'm a little bit more accepting of it.
Mm.
And
Well, just
yeah,
recognizing that by getting underneath the labels and poking at what exactly is actually happening in the body takes you one giant step closer to what that rest
Mm.
is. Yeah. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and as much as it sounds like crazy talk, right? The fact that you've come out of that bliss into this thing is a good thing.
It don't feel good.
No,
I know
that.
you're right.
I
You're
know.
right.
I get it that it doesn't feel good, but it is a good thing that it's
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take your word for it. No, I do believe you.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah.
you just kind of let those words float around until one day you actually experience it, and then you know what I mean. But you know, it's just a possibility at this stage for you. But yeah, but it's real. I mean, I wouldn't throw those at you if I didn't think that you were you understood what I'm saying. I know you do. Yeah.
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 I feel like I'm getting a bit more acceptance. I know I'm not going anywhere, but when it kind of like goes from the whiteness to the black, I feel like there's a bit more. I'm getting kind of closer to it.
Yep, yep. And
I'm
the
avoiding it.
and the
less.
whiteness isn't where we're headed anyway. You know, that's just
No.
something. Yeah. It'll come and go,
Yeah.
as always, as everything does. It comes and goes. Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're not aiming for that perpetual bliss. That's just not realistic. You know, what we're aiming for
Yeah.
when the shit turns up, but it's okay. That's what we're aiming for.
That'd be really nice actually, to like not judge it or dislike it, just be like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you hear that one, Tyler? We're not aiming for no shit. We're aiming for when the shit turns up, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts with Kelly, David?
Um, this bliss and darkness, I had experimented those a lot in my in my story, and what I thought was bliss wasn't that blissful as much as I thought. But I think what you say, it's can be very helpful. You think of differentiate between what's happening, in the sense that first you have to see that the world is not amazing or dark. I mean, if you see a rainbow outside, the rainbow have no power to produce anything inside you. So the cause of what you feel is not whatever the world is, not the way the world presents itself, is not the cause of what you feel. So you, at least you can step back away from this story a little bit. And after, like Vin said, I think it's very good if you can differentiate between story and sensation. It can be also helpful. Like when you feel very bad, the world will feel very gray, right? Like your life is miserable, everything is miserable. You have no money and death and sickness and pain and everything like this is bleak, you know? Yeah, yeah. But this is because the perception are affected by what you feel. So after, when you go inside there, you find the story. It's bad because my story, my parents and drugs and party and whatever, you know. But it's a story. So this is just thinking. So you can make a bubble and say, okay, this is thinking, but what's happening in my sensation? You see? So like this, you can kind of step back a little bit more near of your direct experience. And it's important to do the same when it feels like a bliss. But everything, it's a rainbow. Don't put the life is not amazing either. It's just the cause is not outside. You know, the life is not amazing because you have a new lover and sex is amazing. It's not the reason why. Okay, it had happened. Okay, enjoy or whatever. But the thing is, it's inside you. So again, it's inside you. When you go inside, oh, it's feeling really, it's very exciting. It's great. This is your story. You put it aside. What do you feel? And by doing this, you will find more space between those events, and the up and down of bliss and darkness will kind of probably reduce. And it is reduction. You will be probably more sensitive because now you are eating Tabasco all day. You are like bliss and darkness, bliss and darkness. So you cannot enjoy this the pleasure of very mundane everyday stuff, you know. But there's a lot of pleasure in thought. But it is a little bit make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and thank you. That's really helpful. Just to be able to maybe get away from the stories a little bit and just say, I kind of forget to, you know, like to sit in the sensations. I get carried away with the story. So that'll give me, like, you know, practice to just come into the body and look at where it is.
Yeah.
So that should be helpful.
And
Thank you.
keep curious, you know, because it's not like it has to be light and funny. It has to be like, you know, an exploration and some kind of pleasure, you know. Don't be like like a dictator, you know. I have to win sensation now. Oh, I did wrong. You know? No, it's just like when you feel time between two wave of depression, well, feel your body, you know. Between two wave of bliss, well, feel your body, you know. Just try to find spot when it's available. Just do it, you know. It's not just be curious and enjoy, and when it happens, it's fine. Great.
Lovely. Thank you for that, David. Sound advice.
Yeah. I was with my kid today, and he's learning. We bought him a puzzle, you know, with pieces, and this one have 50 pieces, so it's kind of a big puzzle for him. And the first time we bought this puzzle, it was very hard, you know. He couldn't really match the pieces, it was kind of a little bit struggle. And now he does it 2, 3, or 4 times a day, so now it's like a kind of a week. So now he start to do it everything very fast, yeah. And it's a beautiful process, you know, because it's healthy and everything. But at the same time, I see, oh yeah, this is the brain learning to match to pattern things. You start to learn patterns, to make stories like this color is go together and this one doesn't go together. This these two circle with a square, it's a truck, and this is something else. So I just see, you know, this whole building up of mind recognition, and yeah, it's it's very interesting.
Yeah, pretty amazing watching them learn, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's beautiful to see that it's natural, you know, like they naturally learn what is happening in their environment and everything. It's I see as a parent, I like to take a lot of responsibility, but if I'm really honest, often it's there is so many things that he learned that is not in my power, you know, so much to control. And he learned stuff from me that I have no idea that how he got it, you know. It's just yeah, it is my behavior, but I have never shown him this behavior, you know. But like he gets angry just like me, but I've never expressed anger that way in front of him. But that's how I do if I get very, very angry, you know. So it's like, okay, interesting. There is so much we don't know, like so much.
Yeah. And most of the learning that they do, you can see they're having fun doing it. They get excited about it and really enjoy that learning. You know, most things. Yeah. And as adults, we don't tend to show that joy when we learn something. We go, oh, it's cool. I'm cool.
Yeah, well, my biggest difficulty with my child is, and I'm learning a lot through that, I am a lot goal oriented. Like when I start an activity, my mind goes very fast. Oh, the purpose is to end the puzzle, you know, the purpose is to end eating, the purpose is to go to the park. So we have to go to the park and have fun in the park, you know, but the child is just, whoa, what's happening here? What is that? What's this? What's the sky? So he's just really more like, what is here and what is the impulse, you know. And this is the fun that to me you are talking about, you know, like this. Well, when it's something interesting, like everything can stop and just watch this, you know, what is happening there. So each time I'm learning, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There is not really a goal. I mean, there is an intention, but it's not really to reach, you know. So yeah, it's interesting.
It's something it's relevant to us here too. It's something that, you know, like, for example, we can say, well, obviously there's nobody here to have an intention, but intentions do arise. But if we believe that we have control and we can aim for that to carry out that intention, then we're not seeing what's actually going on. But if we can put that intention in the background and then watch what takes us towards or away from that intention, then it's useful. Yeah. So like, you know, you have the I'm going to the park. Now we can put that in the background and we can be wowed by everything on the way to the park. We can really be blown away by every blade of grass and every pebble on the road and every tree we pass and everything that's all a blow away anyway. Yeah. And eventually we get to the park and then we remember, oh yeah, we were coming to the park.
Yeah. But I think this maybe come because we are trained like in school, you know, like there is places to do things. You know, there is time to do mathematics, there is time to play, there is time for work, there is time for this, there is time for that. And the really strange things, like we bring this kind of compartmentalized things in spirituality, you know, there's a time for meditation, there's a time for watching, there's a time for this. But the message is we have to watch our experience as it is in the moment to moment, no matter how it looks. It's always the good time to watch. So yeah.
Tyler,
There is Sylvia who wants to speak.
sorry. Sylvia, again, go. I missed that. Yes.
I was just curious, you know, are there any more parents here except David, Vince, and Kelly? Who else? Anne, I cannot see Anne. Anne, anybody else? So Vince, a question to you. Have you ever shared about the identification as a parent? Because this is a tough one for me.
I'm not quite sure of your question.
You know, like being identified with your role, my role as a mother. I'm a mother of two grown-ups, a
Mhm.
son and a daughter. They're more than 30. I mean, the daughter is 31 and the son is 34.
Mhm.
And my daughter has some difficulties, let's say, and also complicated personality. And I feel that I'm pulled into this again and again and again. Like I have to, when I see something, I will try to sit down and explain, make her see things, help her. It's less so now, but until maybe a year ago or two, I was just sucked into this. And then I could suffer because she was suffering. I could be offended because she was treating me badly. I could easily, you know, all those sort of things. And I mean, mine are grown-ups. So, well, I must say that it's not happening with my son, not so much anyway, or almost, I don't feel it happening actually with him, because he's quite independent, and we don't have this kind of symbiotic like relationship. But with her, she looks for me, she phones me, she comes, she lives on the floor downstairs, so she comes up and asks me for help, and I sometimes it's just, you know, offering help, but sometimes there is really something that sucks me in, so to speak.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, roles are interesting, aren't they? No matter what that role is, but in this case, yeah. So if it weren't your daughter, if it was somebody else in a similarly needy way of requiring help and so on, in a way that your daughter does, but if it was not your daughter, if it was somebody else, I rather imagine that you would give it willingly and welcomely. You would help them.
Yes, it's not so much about the helping, it's about the feeling I get
Yes.
when on one hand she asks for my help, and on the other hand she treats me unfairly, or she's aggressive, or, you know, it's like something says here, come on, I'm helping you all the time, I'm here for you every single time you need, and then how do you dare to treat me like that? I'm not necessarily speaking it to her, but inside there is a sense of righteousness which says, come on, can't be possible, you know?
So she behaves entitled,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel trapped.
Yes.
Now, remember, with for everybody and with everything, it's not those circumstances that are the issue. They are what triggers the issue for you. So it's not about what your daughter wants from you. It's what you think she wants from you. So the difference is it's what you think, your response to what you think is going on, that is causing that suffering in you. That's the useful way to look at it. However, it's also it's I'm not meaning to discount what you're feeling either. You know, what you're feeling is tangible and significant. But the answer doesn't lie in changing the circumstances. The answer lies in changing our attitude towards the circumstances, which immediately brings up, I imagine, resistance, because it's like we want it to be different to that, don't we?
Mhm.
And that makes it a bit tricky.
It's also I feel this grip, you know, she has on me, or this grip there is between us, maybe I should say, when we are close. But lately I was, for 6 months, I was in South America. I just came back 2 months ago. And during this 6 months, you know, I would hear from her on the phone, or, you know, whatever, WhatsApp messages and stuff. And the grip was not there.
Mm.
I didn't see this. It comes up when we are close.
Yeah, physically close. Yes,
Close.
yeah.
So I was wondering, the other parents, if they feel this too.
Say again.
I was wondering, you know, the ones
Other
of you who
parents,
are
yes.
parents,
I got
if you
that,
have an
yeah.
issue going on, like similar to mine.
Yeah. No, my
Very
son,
much.
Have
Yes.
children, but it's exactly the same dynamics between my mom and my sister.
Mm.
I mean, I also don't know what is in the background, but I mean, I'm observing this for so many years now. It's like over 20 years, I think. And then it's always like getting better, getting worse. It's always the same dynamic, basically. And I could imagine that it's also like, in the case of my sister, that she wants to be independent, but somehow she still depends on the help of my mom, and that makes her aggressive sometimes, you know. But
I
yeah, that's
understand.
the psychological level. I don't really
Same
know
thing
if it's
here.
like that, but
Mm.
so
I stuck with my children a lot. I've got 7, so there's quite a range. And I was finding it difficult to accept situations as is. And I did, have you heard of Baron Katie? The works, it's she teaches you how to
Oh,
just
Byron
accept.
Katie. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was really useful, really helpful to just be able to accept, to bring it back onto myself and see that it isn't my children's issues, it's my issues, you know, and to look deeply at that. And it's really helpful.
So what was your response, Sylvia, when I said that it's not the circumstances that are the issue, but your response to them? What did you feel?
I immediately tried to find a reason to contradict you, although I knew that you were right, but I was trying to see maybe there are some exceptions to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not I'm not saying that those circumstances are good or not or anything, you know, about the circumstances, but yeah. But the response we have to them is not the response to them, but it is the response to what they trigger. And that's where the juice is for you. That's where we need to go and look to get rid of that. And then what you'll find is probably somewhat magically, you'll find that you feel differently towards your daughter when she's there. When it would normally be one way, the way you've described, it'll be something else because she's not triggering that stuff for you anymore. Right? So how you felt, that feeling of being trapped, and I do feel that there's some juice in the fact about the physical closeness of it. Right? So I would be thinking in terms of it may be your daughter, or it may be your mother, or it may be anybody. Who knows? Anybody you've come across in your life that maybe that somebody else made you feel that way at a time when you felt really quite helpless about that situation. And that feeling of helplessness is what you're really responding to now when those circumstances turn up. Now, you don't need to find the actual thing. You know, what you described earlier about the paradoxes, the recognition of the paradox allowed something to just dissolve in whatever way. Well, it'll be the same kind of thing. It'll just something, you don't need to see the actual circumstance that you're responding to in order for it to dissolve. You just need to recognize that there was something there, and that you are responding to that. And somehow your intuition will just, if you just get it in the right spot, it'll pop, and then it won't be there anymore. It'll be different.
Yeah, I feel it has to do not so much with helplessness, more with feeling disrespected, you know,
Yes.
like
Okay. Well, look,
I'm
that's
not.
important stuff. Your intuition tells you these things. Go with them. Absolutely. Don't go where anybody else points you. Go with them. Right. So feeling disrespected, that's so that somebody is taking you for granted. Somebody else is entitled around you.
This is the word. Somebody else is entitled to tell me anything, you know? And I don't want that. It's like, it's this kind of feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
Can I just say, Sylvia, that I mean, mine's a stepdaughter, so I do get more space than being close to, close proximity. But I also watch the interplay between her and her mother, which is very similar to me and her, but not as strong. So I know what you're talking about. And Kelly mentioned this work of Byron Katie, and there is a free app called The Work, where you can literally do a 5-minute process.
Yes, I did that.
You did that?
Not on this issue, but I know the work.
Yeah, so for instance, I got really triggered because my daughter lied to me, and it was a blatant lie for no reason, and it really triggered me. And I had to do quite a lot. It's an afternoon doing that work because I couldn't get to the bottom of what it was in me. But eventually, when it came to the bottom of it, was what I had to turn around was I can't trust her. So it was like, how do you continue a relationship when you can't trust someone? And when it turned around, it was, I can't trust me. Because it's always about boundaries with people. So, you know, like a quick way of doing it is, and I get this with Hannah as well, she's disrespecting me. So that's showing me it's always in me. There's no one else out there. So I'm disrespecting myself by allowing certain things. And then the boundary's automatically there. Then I become the adult again. I don't know if any of that makes sense to you. But I see from the work, everything is in me. Everything is a reflection of me. So Hannah's a reflection when I'm not being aware and present and keeping my boundaries. She's a reflection that I'm not respecting my own boundaries. I'm disrespecting myself. Or when she's lying to me, it's not her I can't trust, it's me I can't trust. Because I can't trust Hannah to just be who she is. If she lies, she lies. It's so what? It's nothing to do with me. It's not personal to me. The disrespect is not personal to me. It's me that's taking it personally. Therefore, I'm disrespecting my own boundaries. I'm disrespecting, oh, I might need to keep a bit more distance from Hannah. I might need to spend less time with her. I've got solutions then to respect my own sensitivity and boundary. Does that make sense? No?
Yes, I understand you perfectly. Yes, it does make sense. It's probably, I've asked myself many times, you know, maybe I don't have a sense of boundary. You know, I'm not somebody who has had like strong experiences of, what could you say, somebody abusing me or stuff like that. I haven't had that as far as I know, but I don't, nevertheless, I don't have a strong sense of boundary, you know. I cannot say, I cannot easily say no, say stop. I'm not used to that. Maybe it's just a matter of having maybe being brought up in a quite strictly, you know, to my parents, I had to say yes. It was very difficult to say no. Or I don't know where it comes from, or maybe just I don't like boundaries, you know. I have maybe a sort of judgment around boundaries, because ultimately there are no boundaries. So,
yeah,
you know.
Same here. I'm very enlightened about my boundaries, that there are no boundaries and there's no me. But at the same time, if that's coming up in me in that moment, then that's what I've got to deal with. Even though my enlightened self can say, oh, don't be silly, there's no boundaries. And, you know, there's still a reaction, a trigger that I'm like, whoa, what is that? That's quite big. And I'm not going to disrespect myself to ignore it or spiritually bypass it. Do you see what I mean? It's there. It's there. It's like, oh, what's this? It's like, I don't like it. It doesn't feel nice. It feels really uncomfortable. And it's coming up for a reason, to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged, you know, like this don't work for me. I'm not going to ignore you anymore. I'm not going to ignore that part of me that says this is just not working for me. This is not, okay, I hear you. I hear that hurts. I respect you. And that gives me more space to look at it and have ideas like, and to put into place. But that's just a process for me that has really helped me with my daughter. Might not ring true for you.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Remember, though, you see, if David was still here, he'd be saying we have to be gentle with ourselves. We don't want to get ourselves into a place where we're we're defending because it's overwhelming. So what Anne was talking about was a way to affect the circumstances. And although she was also saying that she could see that what she was seeing, what she thought was coming from her daughter was actually coming from herself, though that was really useful as well. So she's doing both things, you know, by establishing boundaries. She's feeling better about herself, and she's also manipulating the circumstances a little bit with that, and that may be appropriate. I suspect that Sylvia, that you have enough insight into what's going on as it's going on. So just confirm for me that when you're in the middle of the situation, that part of you can just watch what's going on at the same time. Is that happening?
Sure.
Yeah. I thought so. So that means that you can turn your attention towards what those circumstances have triggered for you, right? And go with that gut feeling that you had, that intuition that says, "Ah, yes, it's about." What did you say? It's not about helplessness. It's about
Feeling disrespected.
feeling disrespected. Yes. Yeah. So that's if you were to use the feta technique to get in there, you would be using that sentence, "I feel disrespected," to get a bit of juice flowing, just enough juice, a Goldilocks amount, just the right amount that you've got something to look at. And how you look at it is into the sensations. Go to what's feeling in the body. So if you were to sit quietly somewhere by yourself and say, imagine the situation with your daughter, because there's juice there, and say, "I feel disrespected." Say it aloud to yourself in a quiet room, and then watch what happens in your body when you say that. Watch what parts of your body respond. Where is the sensation? What is it like? Is it changing? You know what? Just get into that sensation as close as you can to that sensation. And as you're doing that, you'll see stories change. You'll see the beginning. It'll be the stories about the circumstances with your daughter, but it'll change as you get closer and closer to the sensation, and you'll be able to see stories that are a little bit surprising for you, maybe that will come up, that will tweak your curiosity about what it's about, right? But that's all. That is a process that's going on, and you'll see that happening. You'll see, and you'll start to feel differently about things, and you may or may not get glimpses of what the original thing was about, but how you were disrespected by who, or you may not. You know, it doesn't matter. You don't have to. Yeah. But
Okay, thank you. I have plenty of opportunities
yes.
to do that, those exercises.
Yeah, great. Yes, that is. And so you can thank your daughter silently in your mind. You can thank her for bringing this stuff up for you. Yeah. Good stuff. Tyler, I'd like to tell you a story that I wrote when I cut and paste it when I'm guiding sometimes with some people. And it's one that I think I would use with you for sure. And that is that do you recognize that what you used to take as a self is in fact just your response to a whole lot of stories about Tyler?
I never thought about it as the response, but Yeah, now that you say that, it only feels like what I used to take as the self was felt when I was doing against things, against stories.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we wake up, there's a whole lot of stories we used to respond to in a certain way that we now respond to quite differently. We basically respond to them by saying, that's a joke. That's just the made up idea kind of thing, you know. And that's everything from the existence of an independent self right through to having control over life. You know, right to making decisions or having real choices. They're all concepts that don't relate to reality at all. You see, you've seen some of those, have you?
The concepts that relate to reality.
That we used to take to be reality, but now we see that they're just concepts. They're just stories that have been made up.
Right, like labels.
Yes. Yeah, good one. Yeah.
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 I
So
have a
yeah, go on.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh, why are you in your car?
Because I can hoop and yell and laugh out loud, and I don't disturb the rest of the family.
Okay.
So I'm in my car in the garage, and it's nice. It's soundproof in here. I can talk loudly and not not disturb everybody else. Anywhere in the house else they can hear me, and I yeah. Anyway, so I can be spontaneous in the car.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. No worries. Okay, so what I'm leading to with you is that really it's stories all the way down. When you wake up, what you have is different stories to what you used to have, right? And one of the stories about choice, for example, the new story is that story was a joke. It wasn't. There was choice wasn't something we actually did. It was just something we claimed after the fact. So we laugh at that because it's seen to be a ridiculous story. And when people get upset because they've made the wrong choice, you think, oh, that's crazy. You don't need to get upset over that. Yeah. But there's another story, and that's a really important story, and that's the story that I want you to get a hold of, and that is that when you wake up, because you've seen a lot of those stories to be what they are as just stories, you don't respond to them in the way you used to respond to them. And it's amazing how much of your time and your effort and your energy got used up responding to those stories. And all of a sudden we don't have to respond to them anymore, or we respond to them with a smile because they're just plain stupid. And the fact that they turn up is a bit hilarious. Right? But what that does is it widens our perspective out, so we can see a much bigger picture than we used to see. So the more stressed out and tense we get, the narrower our focus is, and we can just see that. We can see it very clearly, but that's all we can see. And as we wake up, this happens, and we can see a bigger perspective of things. But if you don't believe you're awake, you're still doing this. Right? You're still looking through that. In order to see the world like this, you have to respond to the story that you are awake, not to the story that you're not awake yet. Right? And your whole experience is going to be based on that. So it's like people can be awake and not believe they're awake, and so they're not awake. You get me? That's like, it's a weird one, but it's true. You know? It doesn't work the other way. If people are not awake, they can believe they're awake, but they're still not awake.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell you is you're more awake than you think you are. So what we need to do is simply examine all the reasons why you think that you're not awake, to realize that they're also worth laughing at. And I want you to write them down, all those things. Make a list of the reasons why you think you're not awake. Right? And the difference between that response you had when I asked you, when I said, what if this is the way it's going to be when you are awake, and you were disappointed because it's so ordinary, is that when you operate from the story that you are awake, all of a sudden it's not mundane anymore. There's lots and lots of amazing experiences to be had, but you'll only have them when you carry the story that you are awake. You never got them while you think you're not awake. Oh, maybe you will have the odd one, but who knows? Yeah. Did you follow all of that?
Yeah. I don't. What does being awake mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So all right. So that's a test of whether you're awake or not. What do you think it means? If you're awake, you know an answer. If you're not, you don't.
I mean, I think I'm awake because I don't believe a lot of the things that I used to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think it's a belief thing.
Yeah. So what do you think it means if you said you're awake, what does that mean?
Well, thinking that oh, huh, it means that I don't buy into a lot of the things that I used to.
Okay, so what you're giving me is a description of what you think awake points to. So my question, which was a trick question, was, what does that mean? To say you're awake, what does it mean? I see you look puzzled, like it's okay. So it is a nonsensical question, isn't it?
I
That?
Yeah, what do you mean? What does it mean? How could it mean?
Exactly. It means nothing. It's what a joke, that it means something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That if you weren't awake, you would be trying to tell me that it does mean something.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like, why are you trying to make me say what it is? And then I was
I wanted
struggling
to
to
see if you were
pick.
going. So if you came up with a glib story about what it is, I'd go, all right, back to square one. Let's start again. No, exactly. It's a joke, isn't it? It's a cosmic joke, isn't it? The cosmic joke is that it doesn't mean anything. There's no such thing as being awake. Right? What we're talking about is can only be described by certain things, like you say. We're no longer subservient to a whole lot of ridiculous mores that society want to put on us. That's all. That's why they call it liberation, I guess. So we look at things. We look at underneath we don't look at what things mean anymore. We look at what they are. That's the difference. So most people who are asleep will look at what things mean.
Yeah, I did that. But they don't, I mean, nothing means anything.
Exactly. Anything that we can come up with as a meaning is just something we've made up.
Yeah.
Which means it doesn't mean anything. It's just a made up story.
Even things being able to mean something is just,
Well, I can't think of anything that actually means something. Because whatever I come up with, whatever story or you know, it's just, Panilla says post-it notes. I love that one. Post-it notes. We put post-it notes on reality. And that's what we're doing when we apply a meaning to anything. You know, what does it mean that the sun's going to come up tomorrow? Oh, it's going to mean that it'll be daylight. So what? Well, what's that got to do with anything? You know, it's,
oh, this whole thing is absurd.
absolutely.
That we're even discussing what things could mean.
I'm not sure what you're getting at there. It is what would be an issue for us isn't what we might come up with as a story about what things would mean, but it would be our relationship to that, how we feel about that. So if you were to get emotional about any story about what things would mean, then you're in a identification process. You're defending something. You need to be right. That's identification. So it's not the story about what things mean. Of course, it's ridiculous. But how we feel about that, that's where the juice is. And if we recognize that the whole thing is ridiculous, then the only thing we can respond to it with is a bit of humor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or boredom, maybe. Or just disdain, maybe. But even those are a bit too much energy in them to be not identifying. Yeah. Humor. I think that's what we're left with. Got to be humor.
Oh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because I think it is a disdain that would come from knowing that, nothing means anything. That disdain comes from the identification with the belief that meaning is the thing, that things could mean. And it feels like when you realize it doesn't, nothing does mean anything, then that feels like it's the same thing as when you used to identify with the self and then it falls away. and then you feel like you're dying because something you held on to so tightly you realize isn't true.
Mhm.
But that fear only comes from the initial belief that you could exist, that there is a thing that of, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, it's the same, even humor would come from that, right? Because it's only funny that this doesn't mean that because we assume that we assume first that things can mean things,
Hmm.
and that assumption would only come from the assumption that meaning as a concept can even exist.
So is the process one where you move from believing something was real, and then that gets taken away from you, so there's a sense of loss? Or would it be that you've gone from believing something was real to discovering that it never ever was real, and that brings a sense of relief, not a sense of loss? See the difference? So if there's
Yes,
a sense of loss, there's still some identification going on, because there's that absence, there's a hole there.
why did you mention disdain as a reaction to
Yes.
realizing?
Okay, I did, just a word that came out, and as soon as I said it, I recognized that if it were, there was disdain, that there would still be identification going on. Because disdain, if you can get a hold of the idea of disdain, the feeling, there's a sense of superiority in it. And that's all about identification, isn't it? But obviously that word disdain impacted you. It jumped out at you for some reason.
Yeah, because I've had bouts of nihilism.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I got that when you were talking about that. Yes. Okay. So that's where that sense of loss is, right? So I always see nihilism as kind of a halfway point. If somebody's it gets into that state, then they're not fully awake. There's still something left there, and that's because they feel that there's a sense of loss involved with that. So when you've had those bouts of nihilism, what's happened when you've come out of it? What's happened when you realise what they were that was going on? What happened for you?
Actually, I've never thought about this, but in hindsight, it's probably the nihilism that came from realizing nothing means anything was there because of the belief that the belief in meaning. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes. The strength of the belief in meaning, I'm hearing you say, that strength, that gave meaning, that words, that gave meaning to life. that gave purpose, something like that. And all of a sudden that was lost. So there was an aimlessness as a result of that vacuum, and that's where the nihilism comes in. And it's also like, oh, what's the point of anything? That kind of feeling, eh? Yeah. And that, of course, is because you're wandering around like this. You know, there's nothing, you can't see the beauty in anything because you've got your hand over your eyes. Yeah. And there's lots and lots and lots of beauty and stuff to wow over out there, everywhere you look, everybody you look at, everything you look at is full of that stuff. But you can't see that when you're in that grief state. It really is a grief state. Yeah. So when you think about what this whole thing is about, it's about our response to stories all the way down the line. You wake up in the morning, and as you're waking up, stories start to form, and then you respond to them. And all day you have a story, you respond to that story, that creates another story, and you respond to that story, and that goes on until you go back to sleep of a night. All day, every day, it's all about stories. So let's have quality stories, eh? Yeah.
Huh.
Could I add something about that, Vince, about that
Yes, of course. Please do jump in. Yeah.
meaninglessness thing or something? Just about the morning, this morning I noticed for a few moments or maybe a few minutes, it didn't seem like much was going on. And then I noticed a story starting and I was trying to stay without believing them for a while. But anyway, just think about meaninglessness. I just was going to react to that a little bit, I guess, because you already know that nihilism and depression and hopelessness is a big part of what I experience, whatever, and I have that, all the time. And yet at the same time, when you were just talking now about meaninglessness, and I'm looking around going, yep. And I guess a therapy session I had a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was like spontaneity or something we were talking about, and she said, can you describe that? And I'm like, no, you can't describe that. That's beyond description. That's just outside of, and I thought, and I blame my dad for everything, but like anything that can be described can be controlled by my dad and by my thoughts. So the only place for freedom is outside description. And it brings tears to my eyes of gratitude to even just notice that for a minute, that meaninglessness is brilliant. Like it's just spontaneity. It's just freedom from the mind describing, controlling, judging.
Liberation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have the both things, the nihilism and the other thing, and the gratitude. Like I can see it a little bit, Yeah.
I love you. You're a living paradox. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Oh, and that got some energy going in you, Bianca. I love that too. Yeah.
I love that the belief that there's meaning in the meaning. It's on point. Mm.
Yeah.
And about paradoxes, I thought that when Sylvia said, I don't like boundaries, I thought, oh, it's a boundary right here. I don't want to be associated with boundaries.
Yeah, that was setting a boundary. Yeah.
Mm. the other topic was dissociation, and I'm having trouble with this concept. Yes, because this awakening, it's the description of awakened persons, how they feel, it often sounds like a dissociation, a derealization, or
Yeah, that's a
and
tricky one, isn't it?
I don't know if I'm dissociating or am I going towards awakening.
Mm. Yeah, the words can catch us, especially some of those words are loaded, aren't they? And dissociation is one of them. Yeah. And so and let's not talk about the word like it's a medical description of something. I know it is used that way, but let's talk about it like a literal sense of disassociating. We no longer associate with certain things. So that would be true. I no longer associate with the idea that there's a self running the show. I no longer associate with the idea that I make choices and that I have intentions that I carry out and that I can control things. I no longer associate with those. So in that sense, there is dissociation, yes. But dissociation, when used as a medical label, has a different connotation, doesn't it? Firstly, it implies that it's a pathological state, that it's out of somebody's control, that they dissociate, well, we know it. Actually, that's a tricky one, isn't it? We know it's out of their control, but it's out of their control. And so therefore they need help. That's a different thing, isn't it? So yeah, let's just use it in a literal sense.
Yeah, you've asked me at one point if I feel there is something I need to defend, and there is. I want to defend my right to disassociate.
Yes.
I mean, it's that society tells me that disassociation is bad, but why?
Yeah.
It's so unfounded for me.
Yes.
I don't see a reason.
Maybe there isn't a reason, because a reason would be an intellectually sound thing. Maybe the reason that they don't like it is because they're frightened of it. Maybe it's just an emotional reaction because they have ideas about it. It's a loaded word, remember, and they have ideas about them going to the funny farm because of it. So maybe that's the reason. I don't know, but that's, yeah. But see, so you say society demands. So when I hear society demanding anything, all I can do is smile. I just think it's hilarious, because although some things that society demand, they will reinforce with policemen and other officials, but really in my day-to-day life, most of the things that society demands, can you see my finger? Yeah. I'm not compelled to obey those things just because they're there. Right. I obey the speed limit for two reasons. One is it's usually fairly sensible. And the second one is I'll get a fine if I get caught not obeying it.
Okay, well, the society also means this group.
This group, yeah.
Yes.
Mm. So what rules did this group put on you? Find them and I'll break them for you.
Mm,
I mean, there are rules, of course. There are rules. I mean, we come dressed and we talk English, and there are things that, well, are they rules or are they just things that we do? I don't know. So I don't feel like there's rules.
what
I almost wore my
I
pajamas tonight. I didn't, but I almost did. I've got my pajama pants on. I just haven't got my pajama top on. So did I break a rule? I don't know. Yeah.
what I mean is uh, how is how this group talks about dissociation,
Mm,
and mostly what I hear is dissociation is bad.
right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we know about bad and good and so on, but when we talk about that disassociation that we see that we might label as bad, are we talking about something that is it a form of bypassing? Is it a way of just escaping from something? If that's the case, then I'll put up with the label bad, but also I want added to that it's an opportunity. So it's not just bad, it's not bad, but to use it as a way of escaping isn't appropriate. It's not adaptive, it's maladaptive. But those examples I gave you earlier about disassociating from the idea of a self running the show, I don't see them as bad. It's interesting. You do this to me all the time, actually. You make me think about things. So if I'm saying it's not bad, am I saying it's good? And if I'm saying it's good, that's as bad as saying it's bad. So, so that's a bit of a trick, isn't it? Yeah. See, so I go, okay, well, that's kind of bad, but it's an opportunity to work with. But it must mean that I think it's good. But if I think it's good, gee whiz, there I am. That's blasphemy again. I'm doing I'm doing the very thing I'm saying shouldn't be happening. Am I? I have to look at it and go, am I? I don't know. So again, it's correlation is not the same as causation. So if I say it's bad and that implies that it's not good, or if it's not bad, then it is good, that's correlation. I think there's no causation there. Yeah. And I gotta watch myself. Am I just playing mental gymnastics and running away from recognizing some identification of my own? I don't know. Am I? Worth looking at. Hmm.
In my system, there's two types of dissociation. And if we were to judge or label them, you could put positive, negative, good, bad, but we don't want to particularly label them. But sometimes labels are useful to know the difference. But there's a dissociation here that is kind of seems cut off from the neck downward, in that it's kind of that radical non-duality of everything's obliterated. There's nothing here, no one here, nothing's happening, nothing matters. but there's an uncomfortableness with it. It's a cut-offness. It's a disassociated from everything else. The other disassociation that you touched on, Vince, that's more of a positive disassociation for me, that you could label it disassociation in a positive way, is when I'm in the flow and there's no one here, but everything's included. Everything's included in, there's no association with anything, in that there's no one here to associate with it, but everything's in the flow and everything's included. So there's the emptiness of disassociation, nothing happening, no one here, blah, blah, blah. And then the fullness of liberation, where then everything becomes included in that. You bring everything back into it. So you've emptied it all out, and then you're kind of going back in. Therefore, I'm doing shadow work and including everything in that. So not rejection of anything.
So no dissociation either.
No.
Yeah. So that what you said earlier, that uncomfortable feeling that you got, that's the clue. That's the key for you. Your intuition will tell you that you're using that to escape. You're using that to divert, to get away from something. That's and we don't need to use the word disassociation at all. You know, maybe we shouldn't use that word. But
I like it in the context that you said. I think labels are useful sometimes.
Sure.
I quite like them, but in the context you said of not associating with something. So sometimes, in that uncomfortableness, like say when I first woke up, and then I didn't want to acknowledge anything else. I didn't want the fullness. I didn't want to associate with that. But that became too uncomfortable to stay disassociated from the sort of human side of life, the humanity, the fullness of that. But there is a definite feeling with that, with the psychological label that mental health being disassociated is a mental health problem in a sense, because it's been cut off, you're putting away a whole load of things and disassociating from it, and it's not included in your world. The other thing that occurred to me in this talk was no self, non-duality, no self, there's not two. But going back to labels and concepts and words, there can't be a no self without there being a self. There's not
a no self. That's another misnomer. That's a bit of bullshit that comes from the way people talk about it. There's not a no self. There never was a self for there to be a no self, right? So what there is stories,
And you can be awake without not being awake. There's no such thing as awakeness, because awakeness is a concept, and to be awake, you'd have to also be able to be not awake. So you can't be either.
Yeah. Well, they're just kind of the best terms we can come up with to describe something. That's all. So yeah, true.
Yeah, but looking at the place I got to was that everything is a concept, and everything has meaning in that concept. So you can't even use one word, because even one word, even the word "and," is a concept.
Yeah, true.
Full of meaning, and therefore, what liberation is wordless, Because the minute you put one word on it as awake self, no self, then you've conceptualized it, and it can't be conceptualized.
Yeah. Yeah, so many words that are, well, used. Every single person has a different idea of some words, and some words are really loaded. Yeah. But we got away from, right? Bianca made a statement that she demands the right to be dissociated if that's what's happening. Well, that's my interpretation of it anyway, and I want to hear more about that. I'm thinking that your dissociation is something I haven't got my handle around. I don't quite understand what it is you're saying. I'd like to hear more about it.
Okay.
I want to say to Bianca, in order to defend or protect your dissociation, don't you have to come out of it to do that?
Good one.
Well, it's another thing that I feel like I have a part in me that is this. I would like to change this word because it's hard to pronounce. So there is a part in me that does not associate and a part that does. And they are at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah, like I am looking at myself and just watching this whole show going on. But like a movie. And but what I was thinking, on the example of daydreaming. When I'm daydreaming, I'm not present. But for me, I am present in my daydreaming. And well, the daydreaming is what is happening, and I just don't like this. You shouldn't be doing it. You should be
Yeah.
present
Yeah.
in the material world, in your sensations.
Oh, okay.
Why do I have to be present in sensations and not in daydreaming? What's with the difference?
Mm.
Oh, mm.
Yes. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. So you are associated with the content of your daydream. You're not associated in a way, not associated with what's going on around you physically because you're daydreaming. So is that what you're saying when you're saying you're both connected and not connected at the same time?
No, it's another part. It's
Different story. Okay.
the part not associated, just watching Bianca dreaming.
So just watching meaning not involved, or
Mhm.
a limited involvement, just a visual, well, even it's a metaphorical visual involvement. Yeah.
Metaphorical.
Yeah. Mm. Hmm.
So can I ask, Bianca, do you have like continuous watching, whether you're daydreaming or not? My experience would be the watcher seems to be taken away by the daydream. I know, like Rame said, only afterwards I can go, I was aware during that, but I kind of forgot I was aware while I was daydreaming and then remembered afterwards. But you're saying something like there's some continuous watching going on or not?
No, I'm not conscious of this part continuously.
So it just, you get taken away and then you come back after. It's like a distraction. Yeah. I mean, I tell myself off for that all the time, even though I'm probably not doing it, but you know.
It can be like watching a movie, and sometimes I forget I'm watching the movie and I'm in the movie, and then I'm back in the seat just watching the movie.
Yeah.
So are rights a real thing? You demand the right to be whatever it is that you are being. But that right that you're demanding, is it actually something? Is it something that somebody gives you, something you buy, something you earn? What actually is a right? It's just a bit of bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe demanding the right is not the right words.
So if I give you the right,
it is about about what is happening in me.
yes,
Yes, it's buying the belief about this is bad, this is good, or not buying this belief.
so I can't give you the right to be whatever you want to be. I'll give it to you. There you go. You've got it. I'll give you the right to be whatever you want to be. Do you have to get that from every single person in your life, or will mine do for everybody?
No, I just told you it's about me.
Yes.
Buying the belief or not.
Yes, yes, got it.
It's
Yeah, and I'm just rubbing it in. I'm rubbing it in there. Yeah.
I can give you the right too. So now you have two rights.
There you go. Oh, multi-rights. Yeah. But
I think
it is a serious thing too,
it
isn't it?
no, it was more about the need to express.
Ah, okay, yeah, got that. Yes. Yeah. I demand the right to express. Very good. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. But some people do take this thing very seriously, don't they? And they will go to war over their rights. God, look at America now, the right to free speech. Good heavens. Yeah. Yeah. It's a trick, isn't it? Whereabouts do you live, Tyler? What country are you in?
Singapore.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I wonder where everyone else is from.
I'm in Australia. I guess you can tell that. Anne's in UK, of course, in York, and Kelly's in York, and Sylvia's in Belgium.
I'm on the border between Italy and Switzerland.
Italy and Switzerland, right? Okay, up there, further up, yes, yeah. And Bianca's in Poland, and Donna's in Fantasyland. Oh no, Donna's in, where's Don? Don's
In Dublin, in
Scotland.
Ireland, yeah.
In Ireland, of
In
course,
Dublin.
of course, you've got
Yeah,
that
yeah,
on your lilt, yes.
yeah.
And Riz is in Egypt, and Helen is in London, I think, or somewhere in England anyway. Yeah.
Who is in Egypt?
Ramiz.
Okay.
Yeah. He's not showing his face at the moment, but he's here from time to time. Yeah. Yeah.
And Kelly?
Kelly's in York, in
Yeah,
England.
yes.
In England, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Singapore. So you'll be on pretty much the same time zone as us here, eh? What time is it where you are, Tyler?
No, I think I'm a bit earlier because my sister's in Australia. And right now it's 9:30 for us.
Okay, oh, it's 11:30 here, so you're 2 hours behind, yeah.
Pretty close.
Okay. I'll have to adjust my idea of where Singapore is. It's a bit further over that way, more above Perth. You're above Perth rather than above New Zealand. Yeah. And I'm down here in the southern hemisphere all by my lonely self. Yeah. But time zones go vertical, so they're up and down the whole world. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've had fun tonight. I don't know about you guys. I hope so.
Definitely.
All right.
How about David? Where was David from?
David's at the moment is in Bali, in Indonesia.
Bali? But he's European, isn't he?
Yeah, he's originally Swiss. So
Is
he
it?
just above you somewhere, but he doesn't call it home anymore. I think he calls the world home. He's very lucky. He's I think he's a draftsman or an engineer or something like that, and he can work on his computer wherever he is in the world. So he's traveling with his family at the moment, looking for somewhere to call home. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, but since we've been doing these Zoom meetings, he's spent a month in Thailand and a month in all around the place. Yeah, he spends his time. Yeah, and at the moment he's in Bali.
So there are two Swiss people in the meeting because I'm Swiss also.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
His German, his mother tongue is German, isn't it?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know what.
I think from his accent, he must be from the German part.
Yeah, I think he's multilingual. I'm not sure what languages he speaks. But yeah. Yeah. All right. So unless somebody's got something they want to discuss before we go, we'll wind her up, eh? I'm open. And okay. All right. I'll see you all next time. Been great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Vince, and everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Lots of love.
Hope to see you again, Tyler. That was good.
Yeah, see you. It was great.